Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
And this is DAREN DOCHTERMAN.
And this is Ashley Miller.
And we are the Inglorious
Treksperts. And it's a whole new year. But the holiday countdown continues with Robert Meyer Burnett, straight from the observatory, for episode 7. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. Top 10 Trek mindfucks ever. Oh my God. I feel like the guy in Scanners. I feel like Michael Ironside. My head's getting exploded.
Daryl Revick.
Yeah,
Daryl Revick. I'm Revick. Yep. That's so great.
We're going to do it the Scanner way.
Well, is that why they called him Remick in Conspiracy?
No.
Daryl Revick.
Daryl Revick.
But Remick.
No.
His head explodes in Conspiracy?
He's named after Lee Remick. No.
He's not named after Lee Remick.
He's not named after Revick in Scanners.
I don't know about that.
No, Cronenberg always came up. I mean, if you're going to, it's wild. We're talking about David Cronenberg's Scanners because David Cronenberg later became a secondary character on Voyager. I mean, on Discovery. And he always came up with really great names for people.
But that's what I'm saying, because Tracy Torme, who wrote Conspiracy, was a huge fan of Cronenberg's. So, and it's very much like Scanners with the heads blowing up. I just wonder. I'm just saying. It's a possibility.
Only one head blew up in Conspiracy.
Well, because it's his first run syndicated television. You can't have heads blowing up. Do you know how controversial that was at the time?
Oh yeah,
that caused they got tons of letters. You may not know what those are. Those are things where you put stamps on and you send them in the mail.
Oh, I remember.
They got so many objections.
I remember. I was there, Gandalf.
People were irate over the head exploding. And for the rest of us,
they'd never seen Scanners or Dawn of the Dead.
It's just it's cool. They have these little bug parasite things, and the only way to stop them is blow up their heads. I don't know. My head's blown up a couple of times watching Star Trek. So anyway, okay, enough about that. So it's a whole new year. It's 2025, guys.
Wow.
A lot of exciting stuff. A lot of exciting stuff in 2025. One of the things that's coming up is the Hollywood Food Coalition is once again doing a fundraiser for with the Trek stars, and they're going to be doing a live YouTube day of Star Trek panels with a bunch of Star Trek actors, writers, directors, and producers, hosted by Star Trek prodigies Bonnie Gordon and Star Trek Enterprise's John Billingsley. You can go to trektalks.net for all the details. Now, you may wonder, why am I doing this? Because I politely said we didn't need John on the show again. But I would be delighted to mention the event.
Yeah, of course.
Because we had John on last year, and he was great. We love him.
He was delightful.
But we got nothing new to talk to him about. So until they bring him back on Lower Decks with this new stuff to talk about. Oh, well, they can't because the show is over. But there's nothing new to talk about there. So, but it's a good cause. You should support the Talk Treks, which is benefiting the Hollywood Food Coalition. And it's a great cause. And we hope that you'll tune in on January 18th to support this good cause.
I believe it's the Trek Talks.
What did I call it?
You called it the Talk Treks.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're
something
sitting there.
Yes.
The creator of Talk Trek, the man, the myth,
I am not the creator. I am not the creator.
You are not Jackson Roy Kirk?
I am not. You're wrong.
Yeah, okay. Well, before all this worship goes to people's heads, I got to say, Rob, been getting a lot of letters, not letters, but social and emails and things about the specials. But there seems to be a recurring theme about one Robert Meyer Burnett. I want to read. One person says, No, this is dreamy. Good, Rob. This is good. He's dreamy. That's what they say. When Rob joins the Treksperts, it's akin to when Mark Ruffalo's Hulk joins the Avengers and punches out that space whale. It doesn't get any better.
Wow, because I'm always angry?
I don't know what it means. I just think it's a compliment.
That is nice. That's very nice. Yeah. That's very nice to hear.
Longtime listener David Weathersby says, as usual, these specials are a major highlight for me, just like every week. And I'd love more appearances from Rob Burnett. He's such a great contributor. And listening to the four of you together as friends who love Trek just makes the show even more enjoyable. Plus, it's the great holiday gift, Discovery not being canon. That's as snarky as I'll be today. Keep it up.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
So I've got a lot of comments.
That's very nice. Letters. Thank you all, you lovely viewers out there.
A lot of the stuff I'm saving for the grand finale in May when we get to the final episode.
We're celebrating like Memorial Day and shit.
But that's nice. And speaking of kudos, Trek Movie, our friends at Trek Movie, Anthony, Brian, Lori, they just ran their best of 2024 at the Trek Movie site. And we made a dual appearance this year. They feted Best Convention Live Event. I bet you don't know who this went to, guys.
Could it be the Inglorious
Treksperts? Was it the Trekspert stage?
It was the Trekspert stage at Star Trek Las Vegas. This year's Las Vegas Creation Convention featured a separate programming track from the Treksperts with a schedule so extensive could have been a convention all its own. And It goes on to say lovely other things. But nice. So that was nice. But just when you think you couldn't get enough praise for the Treksperts, best podcast episode.
Wow.
Now, this is not best podcast. That went to Trek, Marry, Kill. Which
that's bullshit.
No, it's not. It's not, because the guy who founded that podcast, lovely guy who I met in San Jose, he started that podcast because he was a fan of our podcast.
Oh, wow.
He came up to me and wanted to say that he was such a huge fan of Treksperts. It inspired him because he wanted to do like a cool Star Trek, not the usual nonsense. He wanted to do a
So he wanted a little piece of our action.
So he wanted a little piece. So he went and started this podcast, Trek, Marry, Kill. And that's their number one podcast of the year. So congratulations to them.
I think that's great, buddy.
But we had best podcast episode. Can you guess which one that was?
I'm not going to guess because I know.
It's probably one we would never have picked.
No, we would.
Number 300.
I didn't see it.
Inglorious Treksperts made our best Trek list before, and for good reason. Co-host Mark A. Altman, DAREN, DOCHTERMAN, Ashley Miller delivered detailed and fun discussions on just about every corner of Star Trek with an amazing list of guests offering their insights. This year, they celebrate their 300th episode with something special. To honor the 40th anniversary of Star Trek 3, they brought in Marvel super producer Kevin Feige. I think that's his official title in the movie, super producer.
Marvel super producer.
20th Century Film, Steve Asbell, and Picard showrunner Terry Matalas to debate the hosts on what made the third Star Trek feature one of the best. Well, that's not quite what
Star Trek 300.
That was not
the result is as enlightening as it is entertaining. Anyways, thank you to Trek Movie. That was very nice of them to lavish this praise, and thank you to all the members of the Rotmeyer Burnett fan club for their praise for Mr. Burnett's, who has given up so much of his time to be with us here on the Treksperts.
So thanks for all
people
the valuable
value your sacrifice.
Thanks for all the valuable prizes as well.
Yes,
that I'm sure are on their way.
Insight.
Friendship. Darren just wants to go on the cruise. He doesn't care about it. I just want
with the cruise. No more cruise talk.
F the crew.
I don't even want to promote them after what they did to you.
No.
Okay. So how was everybody's holidays? How was the holiday break?
It was good. We lived.
Wow.
I mean, we had a great time.
Break? I don't understand these words.
Man, I just edited True Noir. I did not do much. Although I will say this. I went back to Charlie de Lauzirika's Alien Anthology Blu-ray set, and I watched in the mother mode, all of the documentaries from Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection, including I watched, once again, the assembly cut of Alien 3.
Wow, you weren't messing around, Rob.
No, I'll tell you why I did it. I was cleaning out a drawer, and when we moved here 2.5 years ago, I've been looking for the Alien Anthology for like 2.5 years. I didn't know what happened to it. I'm like, how does that get misplaced? And it was actually in a drawer underneath T-shirts. And there it was.
Okay.
It's your subconscious hiding things from you.
I kept moving it. I was going to take it down here into the Observatory and put it in its proper place in my alphabetized physical media collection. And it never quite got down there until today. I brought it into the movie room and started watching.
You put it in right after Alf.
You know, Rob, they're all monsters. Okay. Well, that's cool. We went to go to the Arrow. The Altmans went to the Arrow to go see 2001: A Space Odyssey in lovely 70 millimeter. Had a great time. Print would look good.
Did it have a different ending this time?
he had a different land. Yeah, attempt no landings. But no, it was they explained the ending this time. It was really great. Gary Lockwood was there punching out monkeys. It was very circular. But Gary, because it needs, you know what it needs? It needs.
He was floating away macho.
The unification. Yeah. Walk macho. Oh, my God.
Macho.
That's the best. If we ever do a documentary about Gary Lockwood.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just thought of a new T-shirt idea that I should put up on the site.
Gary Lockwood
Walk
fighting
macho.
Walk macho.
Walk macho.
Yeah. Gary Mitchell says walk macho.
Or it could be Gary Mitchell, like in that ape, like the ape, how it evolves to man,
Oh my God,
just
that's hilarious.
And then
Gary Mitchell has killed
Gary Mitchell from ape to get to Gary Lockwood, walk macho.
That's actually really good, honestly.
Rob, I know you don't know what we're talking about.
I have no idea.
A year ago last year, may have been more because last year was 2 days ago. We had the good fortune to interview Gary Lockwood, in which he regaled us with tales of his rambunctious youth, not unlike yourself. Except you never punched out an orangutan that wanted your coffee.
Not an orangutan.
Orangutan. It was a
chimpanzee.
baboon.
I never would.
A pack of baboons.
Well, it attacked him, and he hit it in the face. Okay,
It was a whole tribe of baboons.
and then he
who
rushed
wanted
back to the car. He said, but the key was to walk macho. That's how you keep them from attacking.
How did I miss that?
Oh, it was glorious.
You got to attend staff meetings more often.
Inglorious, honestly.
And then he proceeded to tell us
how the baboon continued.
well, yes, yeah. The continuing saga of the baboon.
The baboon
Planet of the Apes,
offered editorial commentary.
it was truly
on
a
his
kingdom of the
macho-ness.
planet of the baboons. And
So it was something he tossed off in the Caribbean.
and then he continued to tell us what happens every time a woman he was dating or seeing got knocked up, got pregnant, and it was not something that is appropriate for a show such as this, where we're a PG rated show where we are.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Anyway,
We're not back any money, but we'd get demonetized.
even Rob would.
Even Rob
something so gross.
gasp in horror.
I did one other thing now that I think about it that is vaguely
Okay.
Trek related.
Ooh.
Did you punch out a monkey?
I watched Warner Archive's brand new, their
Searchers?
first 4K release of The Searchers.
So
With, of course, Jeffrey Hunter.
Great.
I got to tell you, I'm a huge fan. Warner Archive does support my physical media show, and I'm a huge fan of George Feltenstein. They should make him in charge. They should make him the movie czar in charge of all the studio's libraries.
Mm-hmm.
But this is their first 4K disc. It's on a BD 100. Mark, have you ever? I put it in. It was
It's gorgeous.
gobsmackingly good. I've never seen a classic film look like.
I thought they couldn't top the North by Northwest 4K, but The Searchers is like even better.
It's unbelievable. And that is all George Feltenstein. Warner Archive has always had a higher bit rate than regular Warner releases, even though they're brand new studio titles. And I've never seen, and that restoration is absolutely beautiful. And I don't think Jeffrey Hunter has ever looked better.
Oh, well, he's better as Jesus in The Greatest Story Ever Told. But what was it? Greatest Story Ever? Yeah, Greatest Story Ever Told. No,
King
he's
of
so
Kings.
great in The Searchers.
King of
King
Kings.
of Kings, yeah. He's so King of Queens. But he's
Level 3.
King of, oh my God.
Okay, level 3.
But The Searchers Blu 4K is so amazing. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, greatest story ever told, I think, is Max von Sydow.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. So it's King of Kings. But they
It's
all
all right.
played the same character.
You're not expected to know these things.
It's all the same guy.
Right, exactly. I'm off the hook.
It's like
Jewish,
the
I'm off the
multiverse
hook.
of Jesus is what it's going to be. Like,
it's, right. Oh my God. It's like a
Multiverse of
Spider-Man movie
Jesus.
where you have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland. Everybody, you
Right.
know,
They all get
it just
together
could be
in
like
one-
all the Jesuses in one movie.
Wow.
that's right.
Team
Can you
Jesus.
imagine
No
the
Way
shared
Home.
universe?
Jesus.
Jesus, No Way Home. The biblical shared universe. Be amazing.
Wow.
The Multichrist.
Multichrist.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
I'm the Alpha and the Omega,
It's
and
the
also
story
the
of
Alpha.
the
and
Multichrist.
We're close to losing half our audience, just to let you know.
Well, you know what? Sorry.
Too late.
Don't say it.
You know, I have to say,
I'm a good Lutheran boy. I'm required by law to be blasphemer. That's all. I'm just saying.
I also saw September 5th, which I thought was fantastic.
I really want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, because, it's funny. It's one of my first memories. I mean, I think I was 6 years old when Munich happened. And, but man, that Jim McKay thing, I'll always remember Jim McKay. Obviously, from Wide World of Sports and with the Olympics. And man, it's so great. It's just about, how the sports division held on to that story and told that story of the Israeli hostages being taken by Black September. And it's just a really phenomenal movie. So it's interesting because, it's not unlike Saturday Night, which also was like the inside story of how they made Saturday Night. I mean, obviously two very different things, stakes very different, but both very interesting, and how it just the technology was so interesting of the era, watching how they did live TV and everything. It was really, really, really good. Some good movies this year. I haven't seen Nora yet. A lot of people like the Nora.
Great. Loved it.
Yeah, I gotta see
I
that.
haven't seen that one yet. And I want to see Nosferatu. That's on my list. I haven't seen that. I'll tell you what, the movie that I saw this year that I think, look, I saw a lot of movies that I love this year, but the one that has stuck with me the most, like my brain keeps going back
Godzilla versus Kong?
No. Heretic. Hugh Grant. It is scary.
Becken Woods wrote and directed that.
It's just relentlessly smart.
Yeah.
And just so well shot and so well done. And I just love that the characters are never stupid, right? They get in trouble because they're trying to be good.
Well, clearly they've never been in a Star Trek series.
Yeah.
Excuse me, you're going to have Star Trek on your Star Trek podcast?
Well, Darren, what's your favorite movie of the year before we get to
I
our
haven't seen any
countdown?
movies this year.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen any movies
thing.
this year.
We'll give you one. So Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. We'll give you that one. That could be your favorite.
You can give me that one. I couldn't make it through it.
Oh, really?
I couldn't make it through it.
Because it was so sad, or you didn't like it?
No, because it was so sad. I couldn't take it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, but you know what? I did really enjoy Music by John Williams.
Okay.
That's a good one.
It was a great documentary. Really, really good.
I'll stand by that one.
I'll stand by Yacht Rock. No, I won't.
That was actually a really good documentary. On your recommendation, I watched it and really
did
enjoyed
you?
it.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad.
Yeah, and I love like the little sting at the end with Donald Fagen's interview.
That's what I'm saying. That was my favorite. That payoff was great.
What, Sting was there?
And also, I loved Rick Beato's. I don't know if you watch Rick Beato's YouTube channel. I loved his takedown of Yacht Rock.
Yeah.
Did he not like? No.
Rob, I literally have no idea who's on YouTube other than you. Like the only person I know on YouTube is you. So.
Well, Rick Beato he's a musician and he covers the music industry and the whole history of rock and roll. And you would love it. It's an incredible channel. He has all these amazing.
But he also covers soundtracks and stuff. And
he covers everything. He loves popular music and he's so knowledgeable. He's such a great personality, such a great presence. And his show, he's got like 4 million subscribers and his show is beautifully produced.
Nice. Well, the only, I watched speaking of documentaries because I really loved Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie. And I ended up watching the Martin Scorsese Rolling Thunder documentary, which somehow I never watched, which was terrific. So, which is on Netflix that Martin Scorsese did for Netflix a few years ago. So I was a little late to the party, but I did watch it and I liked it quite a bit. Okay. So we're doing a countdown. Now they're doing a countdown. And this is our countdown of the top 10 Trek Mind
or something.
Mind is a terrible thing to waste. And these are episodes that with great Twilight Zone twists and WTF moments. So obviously Star Trek had a lot of those, and you can interpret it how you will. It's interesting because in a way, as much as the Twilight Zone was an influence on many shows, it didn't really influence TOS that much.
No.
Outer Limits did more than
writers.
Yeah. If anything, Outer Limits influenced it
TOS had Twilight Zone writers. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Richard Matheson, George Clayton Johnson,
Robert Bloch.
Yep.
Yeah. But interesting. But you see the influence of Twilight Zone more in TNG, I think. But we're going to find out what these episodes are in just a minute when we begin our top mindfuck countdown, starting with number 10, right after this brief commercial message. We'll be right back. And we're back. and we're ready to start the countdown.
We're back, but first, I just want to give my voice against that term. I'll say it one time: mindfuck. I think we should call it something else because we have lots of kids listening, or we'd like to. Yes, we do.
That's news to me.
Well, I've got a lot of minds to plow.
So do we have a problem with saying the word fuck? Is that corrupting people's minds? I mean, words are screw. I have no problem with words at all, ever.
We've learned not to fear words.
Yeah, I seriously. I do.
I think that adds to the coarsening of our.
I want to say this. I think Darren's wrong, but I respect Darren, and out of deference to his wishes, I will not call it by that name.
Thank you.
Because because you know what? Can't we all just get along? Because I respect Darren, and if he feels that way, I don't feel that strongly about it. That I'm going to be like, no, we have to call it.
And if you want to continue doing it, that's fine too. But I just wanted to voice my opinion.
Because obviously you feel more strongly about it than I do, which is not that strongly. So we'll call it WTF moments.
That's fine.
So mind plow, we're agreed, is out.
That's
mind stupping is gone.
That's mind fracking.
Ash, don't do it.
Yeah.
Mind pegging.
Don't do it.
Mind pegging. That's not bad.
Well, just do a mind is a terrible thing to waste countdown.
A little of the old mind in, mind out.
Who's minding the store?
That's
if
funny.
You don't mind.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's good.
If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week.
All right, thanks for joining.
Get the top 10.
Okay, so whatever we're calling this episode, now number 10 is we'll start with Ashley Edward Miller.
Okay, number 10 is it's funny. It's one of those episodes that seems like it's going to build to a mind working of a particular type, and then it turns into a completely different mind shtup. I'm referring to the 14th episode of the second season of Deep Space Nine, Whispers.
Imagine turning the Starship Voyager.
Target the first city and fire.
Into the warship Voyager.
When diplomacy fails, there's only one alternative: violence.
Now, the imagining is over. The crew will turn into cold-blooded killers.
Resistance is futile.
And history will turn into anarchy.
No, this isn't possible.
On the next Star Trek Voyager.
Which features everybody's, favorite punching bag for things going wrong in your life. Chief Miles Edward O'Brien, played by the brilliant Colin Meaney, who returns to Deep Space Nine from a mission on a runabout through the wormhole, where he discovers what he believes to be a conspiracy on Deep Space Nine. He realizes that the rest of the crew is watching him. They're tracking his every move, that they're hiding secrets from him. He's having conversations with them that don't seem to make a lot of sense to him because of the information that these people are leaving out. Eventually, he goes to Constable Odo, who agrees that there is something worth investigating, but soon even Constable Odo seems to be turned. Now, what's interesting about this episode in that regard is that in a way, if you think about what Deep Space Nine eventually became, right, with the Dominion, with the shapeshifters, it's who do you trust? Who are these people really? It almost predicts that. It almost predicts that sense of paranoia. So in that way, it's very much a Deep Space Nine episode. And it has this wonderful twist at the end. And I have to ask you guys, those of you who know the twist, and this is really a general question for this episode. Are we giving this away? Is this going to be like the spoiler episode of like a 4:30 movie? We're like, oh shit, do we give away?
No, because you know what? This is what people can do. If they don't want, if they haven't watched this 30-year-old
pause
episode,
now and watch it.
They know they
That's
can. They have a thing on the app where you can skip forward 30 seconds.
So
boop,
I'm going to take a 3-second
all the time.
breath.
Can I just say
and then
every
I'm
time I
say
listen,
what it is.
every time I listen to this with my son and we talk about Picard season 3, which he hasn't seen because he's sort of sputtering the mud of Enterprise. He's sort of taking a little time off because Enterprise didn't excite him and he just can't take it anymore. Oh, so when we listen to the episodes, which he enjoys listening to, we skip over anything about Picard season 3 because he doesn't want to have it spoiled. But there's a button. 30 seconds, boom, 30 seconds. Or you can go, bap, bap. The family has a lot of buttons. But you go, bap, 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 bap. You can do that. Bap, 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 you know?
So what you're saying is if I really want to mind shtup somebody, I say, all right, look, so you're going to want to skip ahead 30 seconds. Then we sort of sit here and we count.
And you wait 30 seconds, and after 30,
and then
you give it away. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be curious how many people who listen to this show have not actually seen the episodes. What do you think, Rob?
That's a really good point. So I'm just going to say it. It's one of like the great twists in Star Trek, because at the very end, you discover that the Miles O'Brien that we have been following is in fact the infiltrator, and everybody else has been tracking him because they're trying to figure out who sent him and why and what all of this is about. And you know what's really funny is that this is. I think about this episode in the context of working for Ira on The Twilight Zone, which was a show that for whatever reason was just impossible to break for him. And I know that this was a bit before his time, but the fact that Deep Space Nine executed this very Twilight Zone episode with such aplomb is just it's glorious. And I love that it came along so early in DS9's run.
I think you got it. I think you have the title. Top 10 Trek Twists.
It's a Trek twist.
There you go. It's alliterative.
So I think that replaces the previous thing that was offensive.
I just found it very, very amusing that, Ash, when you were first starting to describe this, you ran through it so fast that you said a new character name called Constant Blodo.
Constant Blodo.
Oh my God! That sounds like a Popeye character.
He's got to get you in touch with what's keeping you from
which is
touching.
true because he's constantly bloated because he's filled with liquid.
Constant Blodo. He is.
I watch that show.
That's never going to go away.
He must rest in his bucket.
Constant
Bring me my bucket.
Yeah, it's the top 10 Trek bucket episodes.
It's our bucket list.
It's the mind bucket.
Your bucket list. That's our Odo top 10 list is the bucket list, right?
We didn't do that. Like the top 10 episodes for each character.
Exactly.
Because Ashley puts in 4 DS9 episodes every list. So that's
next year.
Well, yeah, that's next year. We can do top 10 episodes. We'll figure it out, but that's a great starting point.
We could just pick 10 characters and then go down the list of their 10 best episodes.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. The Who's Knock.
They only get one.
No, they get nothing.
You get nothing.
They lose. I said, good day, Who's Not?
It's funny because I just watched the producers yesterday with Gene Wilder. Speaking of that,
my blue blankie.
No way out. So anyway, that's a great. Whispers. Yes, Whispers is a great. Whispers is a great Twilight Zone type. Deep Space Nine did Twilight Zone episodes really well because that's a great twist. I mean, obviously, I think maybe the audience is a little ahead of what's going on from O'Brien.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really cool. It's sort of a pressure cooker, and obviously, it's that classic kind of conspiracy type of episode. And then the twist is kind of it's interesting. It's not exactly what you expect, so it's inventive, and it's a really fun twist.
Yeah, and I think the achievement of it is just, and it's partly Colomini, it's partly how it's written. Like you're in it. It's like it's one of a twist that really works is a story where whether you know how it turns out or not doesn't matter, because the story is effective, and it's effective because Colomini is so effective, and because because it's so well written.
And I watched it again recently.
It's a good cure for the constant bloato.
I watched it again recently, and it's funny because it's been so long since I see it, I forgot the twist. So it was kind of cool. And then I watched it. And it's good. It's a solid, as Rob would say, meat and potatoes episode.
Yes.
And it's a good O'Brien episode.
Yeah, Colin Meaney's really good in it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And it has this invasion of the body snatchers, kind of paranoia, even though it's not a body snatcher story, but it has that kind of paranoia. Like, I didn't tell you my name. How do you know my name? Kind of thing going. Really, really good stuff. Good stuff. And it brings us number 9, Robert Meyer Burnett, for our top 10 Trek twists.
Not only is number 9 a great episode of Star Trek, it's also one of my very favorite episodes of Star Trek. And it works on so many different levels. And it's almost a cliche when I tell you who wrote this episode. This episode, the story was, of course, Brandon Braga's story, but it was written, the teleplay is credited to 3 people, the great Brian Fuller, Brandon Braga, and Joe Menosky. And if you're going to write a mind-pegging episode, Joe Menosky and Brandon Braga are the 2 guys to do it.
For sure.
So again, this episode opens in what appears to be an alternate universe. You don't know, are you in the mirror universe? Like, where are we? It opens on the warship Voyager, and we see the crew, who are clearly having a ball, playing this brutal version of them. But they do things when you're watching this going, this isn't the mirror universe. What is this? And is it an alternate universe? And then in a great science fiction mind warping twist, you realize you are watching a false historical representation, a distorted representation of the Voyager crew hundreds of years in the future. And so we're it's not an imaginary story. We are literally hundreds of years in the future. It's not a time alteration, and we are way in the distant future where a civilization, these historians are showing the civilization is talking about an ancient event from their past where they interacted with the Voyager crew, and they believed that the Voyager crew was doing them dirty with teaming up with their enemies. And what we're watching is a historical recreation that they show people in a museum of what the Voyager crew did. And they're not happy with the Voyagers crew. And there are 2 races, the Vaskins and the Kyrians, like Kyrie. And you're seeing this representation. And what's crazy about it, then a backup program of our emergency medical program doctor, Robert Picardo, the doctor, who's the real doctor, gets turned on. And it's him, it's a backup of him, but it's actually him from the Voyager, activated hundreds of years in the future. And he's, of course, appalled, and he has to set everything straight. And it's such a clever, interesting episode that on one hand, you get to see this alternate version of the Voyager characters that weren't real anyway, but it really has this great commentary on how history, is written by the winners, and history can be distorted, and what we might know as history should always, we need different texts and compare and contrast, and that the idea of how history is preserved for future generations is that it's a beautiful way to do it. It's a great sci-fi twist on that very important idea. So on one hand, you're getting this great commentary about the importance of history and what history can mean to different civilizations, depending on whose side you're hearing it from. So that's interesting. But then it's also interesting in this examination of an alien culture that we've never seen before. And we get to hear about their past and who they are and what was actually happening. And then you have the doctor himself, and a great performance by Robert Picardo, who's coming to grips with all this, and he's appalled. And then we jump even further later in the episode, further into the future when things are set straight. And it's so wild because it's canonical, but it takes place in the far distant future. It's kind of a Star Trek side story that the doctor is resurrected And I love this episode because for me, it works on many, many different levels. And I think it's a fantastic episode of Star Trek. It's a fantastic episode of Voyager. It's a fantastic science fiction story. And I really do think that Brannon Braga, you'd think that if Brannon Braga and Joe Menosky and Brian Fuller get together, it wouldn't work. Like the three of them might cause some quantum entanglement or singularity to happen and they would be sucked into it. But they all three do incredible work on the script. And it's an absolutely delightful episode of Star Trek that I never get tired of.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I've said it before on the show. What I love about Living Witness is it's one of the few episodes of Voyager you couldn't do on one of the other shows, because without a character like the Doctor who could survive those 900 years, and you couldn't tell this story. So it's unique and original to Voyager,
yes,
which makes it a special Voyager episode. And it takes you a while to figure out what the hell is going on, because of course we're all seeing it from the perspective of this alien race, which has a very twisted version of what the Voyager crew and the Federation is really like. And it's wonderful.
Totally great.
Yeah. Great episode. Great twist. Great storytelling. And like you said, we live to tell the tale of Joe Menosky, Brannon Braga, and Brian teaming up, three of the most fertile and twisted minds in television. So good for them. Okay. That brings us to number 8. We're back to Ashley Edward Miller.
So number 8 is actually one of my favorite Star Trek episodes of all time. It's from the 4th season of Deep Space Nine, episode 19. It was written by my dear friend Robert Hewitt Wolf, from a story by Daniel Keyes Moran. It's called Hard Time.
Convicted of a crime he didn't commit.
Welcome to hell.
Condemned to a sentence he cannot endure.
We punish our offenders by giving them memories of incarceration.
Confined in a prison he can never leave.
I don't belong here!
Chief O'Brien comes face to face.
You're unfit for duty.
With his toughest enemy.
It wasn't real.
It's real to me.
Himself. On the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
And once again, Chief Miles Edward O'Brien is the punching bag of the universe. He is sent to prison over some silly crime on an alien world, but his multi-decade sentence lasts basically for a heartbeat. It's all implanted into his brain. When he gets back to the station, he is haunted by the experience that he believes was real, because in its own way, it was. In his mind, he lived every moment of those years that he was incarcerated. And the story moves back and forth between his struggle to come to terms with what happened to him in the present, with what was actually happening to him in the past. And we see what incarceration was like for him. We see his relationship with his cellmate, Ichar, who is an experienced prisoner who basically teaches O'Brien how to survive the experience. And the episode culminates with a revelation that's really just, it's very difficult for a show like Star Trek, because we very often like to talk about Star Trek as, well, it's aspirational, they're better than we are. It's the Roddenberry rule. It's all the stuff we talk about on this podcast that is a general way of speaking about Star Trek characters when we want to forget that sometimes they can be human beings in extremis. And the episode ends with O'Brien trying to kill himself and Bashir basically talking him down, because O'Brien reveals that while he was in prison, the prison in his mind, he murdered his cellmate, his only friend, Ichar, because he believed that Ichar was hiding the bread that they were supposed to share together, not understanding that Ichar was actually saving it for them. And what really, I think, elevates this episode and brings it back to Deep Space Nine, brings it back to the ideals of Star Trek, and makes it feel like it's consequential, is what Bashir tells O'Brien, which is, as terrible as all of that was, he doesn't even try to tell O'Brien, well, it didn't really happen, it was just in your head, because to O'Brien, it is real. It's horrible what you did. But the fact that you regret it, the fact that you can't live with it, makes you a good person. And that's what you have to hold on to. That good people can do horrible things. And what they need is forgiveness. What they need is some kind of a sense of redemption and normalcy. And it's really lovely. And the first 100 times I saw it, I cried like a baby. Just incredibly well done on every level. And it's great drama.
But the ironic thing about it is that he makes his cellmate end himself by constantly playing his flute, the same damn song, over and over and over again. So it's a little ironic considering who else has been in a situation like this.
I just thought it was weird when the warden came and said he thought O'Brien was being obtuse.
Right.
That's right. And then he had that poster on his wall. And he was like...
Yeah, the attendant?
Which was super weird. And then...
You know how to read?
Smiley.
You ignorant frack.
Poor O'Brien. He really got the short end of the stick on that show, didn't he?
He got it because we knew he could take it.
He did.
Right. Like
it was interesting because people forget. It seemed like he was in every episode of Deep Space Nine, and yet every independent movie that came out that over those 7 years. I don't know how he did it.
If it needed an Irishman, he was in it.
If it did need an Irishman, he was in it.
His best performance, though, is in Get Him to the Greek. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true.
He's so great.
That movie's amazing.
Yeah,
it's canceled on so many levels now, though, but I love it.
Yeah, well, I like Get Him to the Greek.
It's so funny.
Yeah. That's when movies like that got a theatrical release. Now it'd be like a Hulu premiere.
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hulu. I don't know. It might be with Russell Brand. It'd probably be like a Tubi premiere or Roku.
And P. Diddy. Diddy's in it too.
Oh God. Wow. God. Yeah. What a group. Anyway, great episode. I think that we all love. It's shown up on a couple of our lists over the years, but definitely, a bizarre way that you can experience doing Hard Time. And how many years was it? 15 minutes? You do 30 years or?
Yeah, it's 30 years.
So, I mean, that's
crazy.
That's
horrifying.
It's crazy. It's the dark flip side of Inner Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more entertaining.
Yeah. And you know what it does right that Inner Light doesn't? It actually makes it about our character.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. Well, that brings us, we're going back. We're going back to Planet P, back to Robert Meyer Burnett.
Going to P.
To reveal our number 7 pick for top 10 Trek twists.
Would you be surprised to know that this is another episode that Brandon Braga wrote? And interestingly enough, James L. Conway, who directed The Neutral Zone and Justice in TNG's first season, who also directed the Sun Classic Pictures Hangar 18 and the Lincoln Conspiracy.
Can we call it an anti-classic? Because Hangar 18 is not a classic.
But James L. Conway directed it, and he's a great guy. Love James L. Conway. So this again, like an O'Brien episode, this is a Riker episode, and it truly is an MF of an episode. And of course, it begins, and Riker has apparently he was training for some kind of a covert mission, and he hurt his head, and it hurts, and then he finds himself performing in a play called Frame of Mind, which is the title of this episode.
Without warning, Riker falls victim to an unknown hysteria.
Who are you?
And the crew fears he's suffering from a mental breakdown.
The mind can manufacture all kinds of things.
But are they all in the grips of a powerful delusion?
None of it's real. You're still with us on the Enterprise.
Or is Riker slipping into a terrifying madness?
Let me out of here!
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
And then he finds himself alone on and then he's in a cell. You don't know what is going on, and has he been sequestered away into a mental institution? Is he going crazy? What's happening? And the way there's a lot of surrealism that is in this episode. It reminds me of what they might have done in a TOS episode. It's got a lot of theatricality to it, and you really don't know. I have to say that I think Frakes gives a great performance here. You're constantly, as a viewer, not knowing, and even when you're looking for these things, because is he in an asylum? And by now, even when Next Generation was on the 6th season, people in mental asylums and waking up in reality had become kind of a cliche, but they do it. It's so well done. And I have to, again, give it up to Brandon Braga's script on this one. It was Brandon Braga was always the guy that went the weird way. He went the weird way. And it is a really fun episode.
The weirding way.
And I really enjoy the way it was directed. I love Frakes' performance. I like the surrealism of it. And then, of course, you find out that these are aliens that are probing Riker's mind to try and get secrets from the Federation. Like can they invade or what's going on? And he was the covert mission he was training for. He was actually taken prisoner during the actual mission, and it worked out very well. Even though when you know what the twist is at the end, of course, it borders on cliche, but it's so well done. It's such an atypical Next Generation episode. I loved it when the actual format, because Rick Berman, the show Next Generation was shot in a very. They had a house style. They had a lot of there was a lot of stacking that they would do in the frame, the 4x3 frame. But I loved when people were kind of let off the leash a little bit, and this episode shows what they could do when they didn't have to fit the format the way that sort of the way Next Generation was shot, when they could do different things. And this was really, it's a great episode. I really love this episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a terrific episode too. And I'm a sucker for all those trapped in a mental asylum episodes. I mean, Remember Wise Guy? That's how they brought back Sonny Steelgrave. Ken Wall is, because it's like, there's nothing, being sane and not being trapped and not being, it all goes back to, like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and, Jack Nicholson, and it's such a great movie. But then also you have, Buffy did a great episode where, she thinks that she's in a mental asylum and being a slayer was all a nightmare, a figment of imagination. Like there's so many, and they're, and it's become a real trope where most people don't do it very well. Next Generation really did it well. Frakes is great. Mm-hmm. It's really well directed. The twists and turns are great. You don't see it coming. It's Brandon made these kind of episodes to stock and trade, him and Joe, and some of them work and some of them don't. This is one of them that really, really works. It's one of the best.
It really does. And it's just it's so damn fun to watch because it's atypical for the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you just don't know what's going on. Any episode where they're doing theater is always good. I don't know why. But whenever they're in doing theater, like Beverly's teaching them how to do a play, or Picard's doing, Henry V or something.
Conscience of the King.
Wherever there's a play going on.
I wanted to see them do, I don't know, something like Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Even that Discovery where they're doing Wicked is really good. Anyway, I just like Plan 9. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, that was number 7. That had to do with Star Trek.
Frame of mind. That brings us to number 6, and Darren Dochterman revealing our number 6 top Trek twist.
And for those of you keeping the totals, you're going to be surprised that I do not have a TOS selection for this time. This is actually from The Next Generation, season 5.
So you've seen other shows besides the original, right? You've seen the other Star Treks?
I've seen a lot of Star Trek.
On occasion?
Okay. Yeah. I just don't like them. No, that's not all true.
But I love you.
But this one is from TNG, from the 5th season, episode 18, yet again, written by our friend Brandon Braga. This is, and also directed from our friend Jonathan Frakes, this is Cause and Effect.
Caught in an endless time loop.
We could have been trapped here for hours, days, maybe years.
Unable to remember the past.
How did it happen? How did we get there?
A starship collision lies dead ahead.
We have to get out of here now.
Can the crew escape their own destiny?
Casualty reports coming in from all over the ship.
Or will time tick towards their final hour?
All hands abandon ship!
On Star Trek: The Next Generation.
And for those of you who absolutely hate the Enterprise D, you're going to love this episode. Because every commercial break, the D is destroyed fantastically. And this was actually one of the most appealing things to me when I first saw it. I told myself, oh my God, they're not going to do this every time. Yes, they do. Every time.
Loves to watch the D explode.
I love to watch them destroyed, and I love to watch the crew running around frantic and Picard shouting, and nothing can help them, and they are destroyed. Look, it's just for those of our fans who hate watching things, this is one of those episodes that you're going to really sink your teeth into. That said, it's a pretty clever episode, and its hook is a lot of fun, and we aren't going to figure out the solution, because the solution is really minimally effective, and it's kind of silly. But that's not the point of the episode. The point of the episode is that they've been looping through this scenario over and over for, 3 weeks? And it's just crazy. And apparently there's no solution until Data figures something out, which is just, again, sort of stupid. Let's press the reverse button instead of the forward button for a change. It's just
this doll is set to evil.
Yeah, right. That's right. The laws of probability would have probably given them the solution way before they figure it out. So anyway, but it's fun to watch the characters start to realize what's going on through a friendly game of poker. They begin to realize is someone cheating? What's going on? What's happening here? And Commander Riker is a freaking liar. That's what we learned from that scene. And it's fun because Worf is not a good poker player. Yet they set him up to be a good one. He's not. He just isn't built that way. And that's fine. But, the scope of the story is pretty restricted because they only go through 10 minutes at a time for us. And what eventually comes up is through a strange time rift that we never really get an explanation about, brings back the ship. What's the name of the ship again?
Fraser.
It's not the Fraser.
It's not the Fraser.
It's the USS Tossed Salad.
That's the Bozeman.
The Bozeman. Right.
It's the Reliant.
It's the Reliant.
Yeah. It's a Miranda class. Bozeman.
It's kind of not really a Miranda class. It's different, but that's okay. That doesn't make
the Carmen Miranda class.
It's the Carmen Miranda class because it's covered with fruit.
Yeah.
It's a nice reuse of that class ship. And we get the reveal that, yes, it is, in fact, Kelsey Grammer as the relatively incompetent captain of the Bozeman, who doesn't know what the hell's going on. And he's been going through this, for at least a few weeks. But it's fun. And the hook of destroying the ship every commercial break is a lot of fun. And it is a mind twist. So cause and effect from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah, it's a great look at deja vu, and just again. When we keep thinking how you think you experience something. In this case, they really are experiencing the same thing over and over again. And while that could be very boring, Jonathan Frakes does a great job of directing it because what he does is each version is a little different. Right. So it's never the same. They're not using the same.
Was this his first directing?
No. That was the
Offspring.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
In season 3.
But it's still extremely well done. And
it's well shot. It's before these time travel, time loop episodes became passe. It was one of the earlier ones, you know,
before they would do these
Enterprise, and it was really
over and over and over and over again.
I also have to say that this does have a real kicker when you find out that the Bozeman's been stuck for decades in this loop.
Right.
And I love when Brandon would always figure out a way to throw in something. They didn't talk about it that much, but for a viewer, when you're contemplating, oh my God, you know, it was like Ripley being in hypersleep in Aliens for 57 years, and her daughter grew old and died. Yeah. And it had that same kind of thing in it, you know, that much time had gone by.
Well, that makes me think we need to go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'd be remiss because I've said in the past that if we did top 10 Trek teasers, that Tomorrow's Yesterday, no question, would be one of my top ones, Doomsday Machine. Cause and Effect would be in the top 5 Trek teasers, easily, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just going to idly muse that someday we should do an episode where we try to track all of the characters in Star Trek who end up displaced in time. Like whether it's the captain of the Bozeman or Jillian What's-Her-Nuts from like Star Trek 4. All these people are like, they're Buck Rogers, but they don't have adventures.
Why don't we call it Time is the Fire in Which We Burn, and we just do a master list of everyone.
Because that's stupid.
Well, Kirk would be one of them.
Kirk would be one of them, actually.
Because he was displaced in time and universes.
Right. Number 1. Displaced in time guy.
It's an interphasing beacon.
No, but in Generations, he's comes back.
And in Unification.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I think is canon.
The displacement's so nice, he does it twice.
Right.
So there you go. That was Cause and Effect from The Next Generation, number 6. And that brings us to number 5. We jump all the way.
Which is Cause and Effect. Oh, sorry. That was that's a little trick. You see, it's a little trick. Right.
We jump all the way to Picard Season 3 for number 5, Imposters.
I have contacted Starfleet, and they're on their way.
How did a changeling get aboard this ship undetected?
They're hiding something.
You must trust me. It's all so much worse than we thought.
They're coming for us.
What are you doing?
We must run.
Battle station.
This is the episode in which there's much paranoia on board the Titan because people are not who they seem to be because they're evil changelings. Evil changelings, not changelings, evil changelings.
Right. And
of course, we're reintroduced to the most wonderful, one of the great supporting characters who we never thought we'd see again, Michelle Forbes, Ensign Ro. And of course, this whole episode is a deep pressure cook because we don't know who's telling the truth, who's lying, who's a changeling. What the hell is going on? But this we do know.
Changelings.
We know that Captain Shaw hates Captain Picard. One of the great exchanges in this, as they're going to meet Ensign Ro, Picard, you know, we have saved the galaxy more than a few times, and hopefully they'll remember. Or, as Liam Shaw adds, they might remember that time that someone hot dropped the saucer section of the Enterprise D on a planet, or that time that someone threw the Prime Directive out the window so they could snog a villager on Baku, or the time you boys nearly wiped out all of humanity by creating a time paradox in the Devron system. Basically, when it comes to rescues from danger, you two have a real chicken and egg thing happening. Those were the days. And that's why we love Picard Season 3.
Yes.
That's right.
That was some great dialogue.
But Imposters is a real pressure cooker, and it's a twisty, turny thing. And, you know, for most of the episode, I think you're supposed to think, and you would not be wrong to think that Ensign Ro is a changeling.
Right.
And it's not. She's just pissed off at Picard. And that's a great twist, too. We find out that the events of Preemptive Strike actually matter. The penultimate episode of Next Gen actually are like important to canon because Ro has been pissed at him ever since. And
he's been pissed at her.
And they come to an understanding. And of course, this also has the teaser with, young Jack Crusher going, ballistic with a phaser on everyone, which is also another twist, when it's like, what's going on here? So a really twisty, turny, timey-wimey kind of wonderful episode from Terry Matalas, Chris Monfett, and the whole team over at Picard Season 3, Imposters.
I have to say, when I can't say how, but the first time I was able to see Picard Season 3, months and months and months before it aired, I was watching it, and this was the time I was watching that exchange between Michelle Forbes and Patrick Stewart in the recreation of 10 Forward. And I thought that scene was so great because it had such resonance to previous, the penultimate episode of TNG. And that was when I actually stopped what I was watching. And I was like, how are they allowed to do this? Because it was a lot of people have not been as enamored of Picard Season 3 as I was, are always asking me, why do you like Picard Season 3 so much? And I'm like, I always point to this episode and say, because the conversation when Ensign Rowe and not Ensign Rowe anymore, and Picard are facing off against one another, there's so many different layers to that conversation. They're dancing around each other, trying to figure out who each other, if they're really who they say they are. But then when all the emotion comes out, if you're a fan of Next Generation and you loved Michelle Forbes as Ensign Rowe, it was such an earned, meaningful moment that went back into Star Trek history. It was so well performed. It was so well written, and it really resonated. And I was emotionally moved,
compromised
by that scene. I mean, but I thought it was terrific. And while, there's a lot of stuff in Picard Season 3, like the Return of the Jedi of it all, I don't care about any of that stuff. What I loved about Picard Season 3 was the strength of the previously existing characters and what they did with them, because I thought they did a wonderful job.
And it was true to those characters.
Yes.
And I'll tell you the other thing it did that had the balls to do. And again, Isaac, stop listening because I'm about to give you a spoiler. When they kill Ensign Rowe,
30 seconds later.
And I love that the actress, Michelle did not want to be killed, that she wanted, a reveal at the end that she's still alive, right? Because she's like, oh, well, they can't. It's the Connor Trenier of it all. Are you sure there's never going to be a chance for me to come back? Then kill me. But if at some point there's going to be future Star Trek, I want to be alive to cash a check, right?
To be honest, we don't see her actually die.
Yeah,
she
dude.
Dies.
She being right on board that cloaked Klingon vessel that's
dead,
there.
and that's what's so good about it. It's like, okay, we're in the end game for Next Gen. The actors are old. The show is over. It's like we're killing some characters. It's like
Terry did confirm to me that she is dead.
It's not frozen in. Of course she is. It's not frozen in amber.
Check her pulse.
Like a lot of these shows where it's like, even the end of John Wick, it sort of implies that, okay, he could still be alive, that, it's just he faked his own death.
Oh, nice. But spoilers, please.
So the movie came out 2 years ago. But, and he recently said, I don't even know if I'll do another one because my knees won't let me, which
the twist is the
quote.
dog is still alive and is secretly pulling the strings at the high table.
That's right. That's really funny. So I love the fact that at this point, when, it's 35 years later, we're doing a coda or an epilogue, whatever you want to call it, to Next Gen, that they're stakes. They're real stakes. And, that they kill Ensign Rowe. But it's a great episode. But more importantly, for this countdown, it's filled with WTF moments and twists and paranoia and wondering what the hell is going on. But not in the way when you watch other Star Treks and wonder what's going on. You actually wonder for the right reasons what's going on.
It's true.
Yeah. Okay, that was number 5, Imposters from Star Trek Picard Season 3. That brings us back to Robert Meyer Burnett and number 4 for a familiar entry in our countdown.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. We're going to figure out a way to get this particular episode into some list. It has to happen all the way back to the Sci-Fi Universe days when we were making lists of Star Trek episodes. This was always on my top 10 TNG list. And I'm referring, of course, to the 3rd season Next Generation episode, actually the 3rd episode of the 3rd season of TNG, Survivors.
Next time on Star Trek, The Next Generation, the crew discovers the sole survivors of an alien massacre.
The attacking force spared you for some reason.
They're guarding a dark secret.
Stop! Stop!
A mystery that's destroying Troy's brain. A threat that's attacking the Enterprise.
Commence rapid fire with all weapons on full.
On Star Trek, The Next Generation.
And of course, it has the great John Anderson in this. And in this episode, the Enterprise hears a distress signal and rolls up to the planet.
Alien visitor.
Rolls up to the planet Deltarana 4 and finds a planet that's been totally devastated except for one sliver of beautifully preserved land. And they actually get outside.
By the way, how is that Blu-ray, that 4K sliver that just came out?
I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
No, I didn't get it either.
You know, I mean, I got excited about The Keep, and I love Vinegar Syndrome, God bless them, but I can't get excited about Sliver or Congo.
I know, I got The Keep and looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Yeah, me too.
But I did not get Sliver.
No, and they announced Virtuosity. But
I thought it came with the chocolate bar, that's why.
Oh.
No.
Well, so,
I've never seen it.
Looking for Mr. Goodbar and looking for Mr. Goodbar.
So the Enterprise crew beams down to this oasis in this around this destroyed planet, and the beautiful location shooting, and they find this beautiful house, and they find an old man, Kevin Uxbridge, and his lovely wife, Rashawn, and it turns out that they are the only survivors.
That's the twist. There was beautiful location shooting. Never happened on Next Gen. Oh my God, they're shooting on location?
It was great.
This episode looks good? Wow.
Riker gets caught in a trap, and it's pretty funny, actually. And then, of course, nice house, good tea. One of Worf's great lines is in this, and the Uxbridges host the crew, and they are explaining that they were attacked by an enemy force, and that they are the only survivors. Now, at the same time, there is a music box in the house, and unfortunately, back up on the ship, Deanna Troi is being driven crazy by this music.
How's it sound?
It's
springtime for Hitler and Germany.
Well, the music is the tune is the same as the music box in the Uxbridge's house. And to make a long story short, you all know where this is going, but the Enterprise is attacked in orbit by these enemy aliens they've never seen before, and all this stuff starts to happen, but Picard's not buying it. Something's going on. And he's like, what's going on here?
Something's going on at the Uxbridges.
And you find out that Kevin and Rashawn are brought up to the Enterprise, and Picard confronts Kevin Uxbridge and says, look, these aliens that are attacking us, they attack
I surrender.
Here. Well, yeah. And Picard says, I don't buy it. What's going on? And you find out, and then, of course, Rashawn disappears. She was never there. Very much like the menagerie. And Kevin Uxbridge explains that he is an immortal energy being that has taken human form, a being called a Dowd. And he came across this beautiful planet, and he decided to take human form, and he fell in love with Rashawn and was living the great life. And this planet was mercilessly attacked by an alien race called the Husnak. And I have to say, when I was watching this episode trying to figure out what was going on, it was pretty mind-blowing when you finally figure out or see or it's revealed what's going on. Because
isn't it the most Twilight Zone-y of all the Next Gens, Rob?
It's pretty Twilight. I mean, Frame of Mind's pretty Twilight Zone-y too. But yeah, I mean, I would say this, and what's amazing about this episode is that at the end, it packs a huge wallop in the sense that you find out that all these people were killed, and Kevin Uxbridge lost his wife, lost Rashawn. And in his anger at this alien race, of which they numbered 50 billion, there were 50 billion Husnak.
A lot of Husnak.
This man is so limitless, this creature, this Dowd. He reached out with his mind and his abilities, and he committed genocide. He singularly wiped out, as he says, all the Husnak everywhere. And I remember the first time I watched this episode, we've never seen anything like this in Star Trek before.
That's why there's never been a Husnock action figure.
Well,
it's gone everywhere.
Well, it's the box and it's empty inside.
It's an empty box.
But I gotta say, one of my favorite.
Oh my God, that's so funny! I'm going to text Brian Volkweiss right now because they're doing that unproduced Trek figures, like like rare and obscure Trek figures.
There's some good ones too.
I'm telling
they're
them,
doing some good ones.
I think it's a good thing that they didn't use the original title for this episode, which was "Who's Knocking the Knockers."
But anyway, I just wanted to say that one of my favorite Patrick Stewart moments is when he's trying to come to grips. Picard is trying to come to grips with what Kevin Uxbridge has told him. And you see the fact that this one being was so distraught, literally committed a 50 billion person individual genocide. And he's like, he's trying, Patrick, you see in his mind, his face, that he's trying to come to grips with the horror of what this kindly old man, and John Anderson was, again, somebody you might remember from the Odyssey of Flight 33, from the Twilight Zone, the air jetliner that goes back in time to the prehistoric age. He played Riker's father in North and South. What Picard is trying to come to grips with is this, and he says, the scope of your crime is beyond us. There's nothing we could possibly do to you. Like they can't even contemplate the horror of what this creature has done. And then they leave the planet, and Picard's giving he's giving a log entry saying, yeah, we really don't want to come across this guy again. Perhaps it's best that nobody finds this Dowd again. And, it was a really interesting episode, but the end of this episode is truly haunting. And kudos to everybody's performances in this episode.
Well, I just texted Brian. I'm waiting for an answer. I told him that we have this great idea that he should put out the Husnock with an empty box. And I'm waiting to hear back. Yeah.
But before we go on, I point out my favorite twist of this particular episode, not the survivors, this podcast episode. Every time, this is like the Twilight Zone, every time DAREN leans forward far enough, I can see his Ernie from Sesame Street puppet in the background, but it's really tiny and it's perfectly positioned, so it looks like it's perching on his shoulder like King Salacious Crumb. It's weirding me out, man. Well, now I can't see him. Now it's messed up. You did something. You moved.
I don't know.
You said he's like Salacious Crumb?
There's no Ernie.
This is not
about. You're just
this
seeing
is not
things.
a Star Wars podcast.
Yeah.
This is a Star Trek podcast. I think you should bite your tongue if you're going to make Star Wars references.
Ow.
Jesus.
It's pain.
Man.
Suffering.
Yeah. I wish I was Kevin Uxbridge and could make people disappear.
You don't. That's not.
Oh, I do. I do.
He's got the ultimate Tantalus field.
Have we
That'd
learned
be so great.
Well, maybe the Tantalus field is actually tapping into the power that the Dowd controls.
What, you don't have bottled water? Boo.
Wow. Does he play little pranks on people with the Tantalus field? Anyway, sorry.
Reveal your inmost self to your creator.
Isn't that from Beneath the Planet of the Apes?
It sure is.
Yeah, okay, there you go. Okay, I had something else I was going to complain about, but I don't remember what it was. No, because, last week I was talking about these people that can't remember your order. And something else happened that I wanted to mention, but I don't remember what it was.
20th century with no complaints.
No, but, he no complaints, but also with no
who's not?
Well, no, who's not, but also no, what was her name again?
Bottled water.
No, the one
Rashawn Uxbridge.
No, from Planet of the Apes.
Nova.
The woman who died in suspended animation.
Oh, Stewart.
Yeah.
No, Stewart. So he's screwed. He's just like he's screwed.
He was to be the new Eve.
Yeah, and then she's gone. There's nothing we can do about it. She's gone.
Bye.
Because the suspended animation is not a good way to travel. 2001 reminded me of that because, he turns off the power like they all die.
That would have worked if it hadn't been for Hal.
Hal. I mean, Hal is messed up. But then, even in Space Seed, How many of those suspended animation canisters didn't work?
They would have been fine if the Enterprise hadn't beamed over and screwed it up.
That's not true. I don't think
that's true.
He said, no, but Scotty says so-and-so are still working because that meant they weren't working.
They were failing.
Before. They were failing. So those people are dead. They're dead.
They were lucky to have lived an extra 100 or so years. They're fine.
Cooped up in a box.
Yeah, but they were napping. It's not really like living.
Yeah, it's like a really long nap. Those people on the Botany Bay, they did not have it good, even with their enhanced abilities and genetically perfect. And some of them were not genetically perfect. I don't know if you saw the extras in that.
Yeah, some of them did not look perfect at all.
Well, they look better than the ones in Star Trek 2, that's for sure.
Man,
well, those guys have been through some
crazy.
Shit.
I mean, that was the worst extras casting. I don't think Nick would have allowed that by the time of Star Trek 6. But I think what happened was he had only directed one movie at that point. I just don't think he had his eye on the ball. He had so much pressure on him about everything that he wasn't focused on the extras. Because the extras, it makes no sense. They all look like the Beach Boys and Beach Big Bimbo Fiesta and like a Annette Foon, a cello movie or something. It makes no sense.
That's true.
Even when I saw it as a kid, I'm like, this is not the people from the Botany Bay.
They were all Khan's age.
Right, they were all Khan's age, exactly. Well, these are probably their kids.
Yeah, but they aren't
Khan's age.
They aren't either old or young enough to be the kids. So
but living on that
sense.
planet, how are they going to look that good? How are they going to have that good skin and everything?
Well, they work out.
It's dry.
They had a great sand peel.
The dry heat.
They just go outside and have their complexion sand peeled away.
Sand peel, or worse.
Yeah.
This is SETI Alpha 5 Spa.
He's got a big one.
It's like 2 bunch palms of SETI Alpha 5. We get great mud baths and everything. Okay, so that was number 4, The Survivors. An episode that we all adore and can't say enough good things about. And obviously it has a great twist, which is why we mentioned it yet again. Okay, so that takes us to number 3. Oh, number 3 is mine.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this. So this is a fun episode. I like it. It has a good twist at the end.
There we go. That's the end.
No. Thank
you, everyone. Good night.
It's another. It's interesting. A lot of these twisty episodes revolve around Riker because of course, this is from and this is another really great Twilight Zone episode. This is Future Imperfect.
On the next exciting episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, imagine waking up in a mysterious future.
Data, I haven't remembered a day for the last 16 years.
Where time has altered the crew's destiny.
Perhaps it would be best if we discuss this.
Shut up!
Is it a Romulan trap to sabotage the Enterprise?
Shall we end this charade?
Or an endless nightmare with no escape? Find out on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
This is an episode where Riker thinks he had been caught by the Romulans, and then he thinks he's being interrogated by the Romulans. None of that turns out to be true, but there are multiple twists in the episode, all that work, and it has a very sentimental, sweet ending. In fact, I really wonder whatever happened to that E.T. kid at the end. He's like this little adorable kid, alien kid who's like left on this planet all alone, and he just wants Riker to be his friend. That's basically the twist. And But, this comes at the end of this real pressure cooker of an episode where, Riker thinks that the Romulans are trying to extract secret plans from him. And there are a couple of things that sort of trip them up. But the great twist in this episode, the really best twist, and Darren knows what I'm going to say, is when Riker is clued into the fact that he's being manipulated, because when they say, "Oh my God, you've forgotten all this stuff, but over the last year you were married," and they reveal the person he was married to in a video was Minuet. So clearly they're reading his mind. And he's like, "She's not real," and they said, "No, of course, because she came across as completely real."
You have strong memories of her. How could that be?
But you guys had sex.
But it's so great that the twist hinges on that. Because again, this goes to what we say about canon, about continuity, that even when Star Trek wasn't serialized, time and time again, whether it be Data with Tasha or Minuet or so many of these things that it laid the groundwork for, they would come back and be important plot points. And they were never engineered to be that, but they would just be very clever about how they used it. So having Minuet being sort of the crux on which the twist of Future Imperfect hinges is great. It's great storytelling. It's a really solid episode.
Information from other episodes means that they're paying attention, that someone else other than us is paying attention.
And it makes the universe feel real.
Yeah, it's not like some fan servicey thing. It was it's something that was only germane to the situation that was happening then.
It's a character thing.
Yes, it's a character thing, and that's what great. That's why canon, I think, is important in shows like Star Trek, because there's an overall tapestry of believability that isn't just on an episode by episode basis, but the entire show itself.
It's important, Marion.
It's like when you watch a show like Breaking Bad, they constantly refer to things that have happened in the past or what went on, because
that's what makes it feel real.
Yeah, that's what people's lives are all about.
Well, and we saw it on this list before. Imposters wouldn't work nearly as well as it does if you weren't familiar with Ensign Rowe and Preemptive, and clearly in Preemptive Strike. A Living Witness obviously wouldn't work if you weren't familiar with, how the Voyager operated, how dull and plotting and Voyager. I mean, so it's really canon important, and I think you'll find that canon was never more important than in our next pick. So, Darren Dochterman, tell us what number 2 is.
This is the only two-parter from the original series, and yes, everyone knows what it is. It is interesting because it started as a way to save money, because they wanted to be able to reuse.
And that's the twist.
That's the main twist. The main twist is that they are gaining an extra episode by using the unseen pilot, the Cage. And yes, I'm talking about the Menagerie.
You see why I can't go with you.
This is the female's true appearance.
You'll give her back her illusion of beauty.
And more.
Which is, hey, folks, that's just another name for the Cage. I'm just letting you know that. The episode.
But that's not true. Menagerie is like a collection of zoo creatures. A cage is the cage.
But what are they all in, Mark? They're all in.
Yeah, but you're saying it's the same. It's not. A cage is a cage which holds people in a cage. Holds them incarcerated. Whereas Menagerie is a multitude of creatures being held in one area. So it's not the same. Let's just not.
Well, Mark, it's not the same, because we took the original Cage and we put a cage around that. So yes, it is a menagerie, but it's a cage within a cage.
But it's also within the episode, the Cage episode it's playing with your imagination, and it gets you because the crashed ship wasn't really there, and
the twist is nothing was ever there.
Yeah. No.
Even in the Menagerie section. That's what the twist is. The twist is that the drama that's happening in the framing episode isn't real either. And that's the greatest twist that we find out. That Commodore Mendez was never on the shuttle. He was never on the Enterprise.
He was never in Free Enterprise. It's true.
Well, that's true. He was.
Darren, isn't it true that maybe what's so great is the Cage doesn't only have these great twists, the Menagerie does, because of course the biggest question is, why is Spock doing this for him?
Right.
Yeah.
And we find out why, because he was a different person 13 years ago, and he has grown, but his heart remains pure. And his heart remains devoted to his previous captain. And it's such a great story. It's a great story. The original Cage is a great story, but it's made so much better by this framing device that the Great Bird came up with. And it's amazing. I love these episodes, these 2 episodes. And it's so clever. It's almost too clever.
It's the greatest clip show of all time.
Indeed.
Yeah, but that's why The Cage should not be part of the syndication package. The Cage is not an episode.
The Cage is a bonus.
Is because it contradicts the out of context, the menagerie, and it should not exist. When we grew up, it was like the Cage was special. Yeah. It was like the unseen episode of Star Trek.
Secret footage that didn't.
Now it's the 80th episode. Or but it's not an episode,
No, and it drives me crazy that it's even part of the syndication package. Like you said, it isn't canonical, and yet they've based multiple movies and series around it.
Yeah, and they've changed tons of things about it.
Yes,
since so
they keep stealing what they want, but they don't steal. One of the great scenes in Star Trek history is Boyce and Jeffrey and Pike talking in his quarters when he brings the great bag of martinis with him.
Yeah, Boyce, who's that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how do you
should have been played by Jeff Combs?
It shows. I like to say things are fraudulently created. How do you not have? I mean, I know why we don't have Dr. Boyce, but how do you not have that character when that exchange between the two of them was so great?
Yeah. Right.
Like, how do you leave? You instead, you decide to put Chapel and Uhura and all these, you had a whole cast of characters that were unexplored.
Yeah.
Other than that episode.
They were interesting.
Yeah. They were interesting and they had all different kinds of things to say.
They were interesting. They were diverse. They were everything you would want in a show.
Is cute as hell.
And they get rid of them all.
Yeah.
And bring in a shocking lack of creativity. They go back and they just poach characters and cram them, take our TOS cast and cram them into the Strange New Worlds. And it's maddening to watch.
It's an alternate universe now.
It is.
It's an alternate universe.
Yeah, it is.
What was interesting? I don't know if you saw Tom Holland's interview about The Crowded Room, which was the show he did for Apple that Akiva was the showrunner of, and he had nothing good to say.
Nope.
He didn't name names, but man, he was harsh about the experience there. Which I take what you will from that. Says a lot, I think.
Well, but anyway, the Menagerie's great. Watch it.
Yeah, it is.
It is great. And when I was a kid, I loved it.
Full of great twists, and I think that's something that we always loved about it.
And of course, great twists, and the question is Starbase Operations real?
That's right. And is Spock going to pay the ultimate price for his loyalty to his captain, because it's the only death penalty still on the books?
Yeah.
Do you know what else I've also thought about the episode? I've always thought that the Telosians wanted Kirk to know something about Spock. Sure. And that they were showing Kirk what a big-hearted man Spock was. They showed something to Kirk, because the way Shatner's performance in those courtroom scenes, especially at the end, is so great. And I always like to believe that the Telosians were saying, you get what Spock is doing, but the Telosians wanted Kirk to know that you have one of the most amazing beings in the universe as your first officer.
I just want to know how Spock originally contacted the Telosians again. Did he send them an email? What did he do?
Yeah, no, I think they contacted him.
I don't know if they contacted him, because they didn't know about his accident.
Oh, yes, they did.
I think they did.
I don't think so.
They did.
I don't think. I think Spock contacted them, because otherwise he's just a pawn in this. See, I think Spock was the inciting person to bring this about, because that's a better story.
See, but that's also the great twist, is that these aliens that we think are torturers, that we think are these horrible people.
Well, they were. They just didn't realize.
What? No, they
were torturers.
They were trying to just decide if he was worthy of being paired with Vina. It's kind of like in the Empath. It's uncomfortably close to the Empath.
It is.
But they're just trying for the greater good to find out. And then we find out at the end that how sentimental they are, that they're willing to help, Pike after his accident to bring him, home and give him a life. I mean, they're some of the most kind of enlightened and sensitive and caring aliens, which we would never have thought in the first hour and 45 minutes of that show. It's another great twist.
Also, Wheelchair Pike is going to boost their ratings on the mind scan. But
they're not doing it for enjoyment. They're not like they're going to save their race, yes, but they also want to find somebody who is, they're trying to help, poor Vina. I mean, they wanted to help Vina, and they're struggling because they don't know how to put her back together. They tried. They did their best.
They tried. They did their best, even though they are almost identical to humans except for the big head. But that's fine.
Can we talk about the creepiest thing in this episode, though?
Which one?
What's that?
The fact that Malachi Throne's voice keeps coming out of Meg Wiley's face.
Right.
Like, that just always.
No, they pitched it. You can't really.
It's fine.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right.
You just say that because you know.
No. Thing is, though, I love it.
Captain.
But there is no, and I think it's intentional, obviously, that there's no way that the voice matches the face. The ADR is actually good, but there's a mismatch that makes it unsettling, along with the butthead, which I dig.
No, the new lines that come from Malachi Throne that have been pitch changed actually don't have to be lip synced because they're not moving their mouths.
They're telepathic.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love it. I love
everything about that. I mean, the fact that they cast women, gave them male voices.
Men.
And you cast Malachi Throne again so that you can use his voice in the original.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Was Commodore Mendez ever real?
Yes. On the Starbase, he was.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
He wasn't.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, I just don't think
because
he
they say it specifically. They're on the ship, and in the shuttlecraft, he was a creation.
Yeah, he was real.
And they get a message from him after.
I know it.
Oh yes,
exactly. They get it. Yeah. And plus, he gave Kirk the bell one day. It was a present.
I'm sorry, he gave him a what?
He gave him the bell that they used for the
commercial. Right. Yeah.
So here's a bell. You can
here's
ring
a bell. Yeah, Mike's got a
beat. You can ring my bell.
Ring my bell.
Okay.
Demonetized.
When we come back, it'll be our honorary mention. So stay tuned. We'll be back in a minute. And we're back. These are our honorary mentions. These are episodes that could have been in our top 10, but are not consensus picks, but rather individual picks for our top 10 Trek twists. So without any further ado, we look to Rob Meyer Burnett to start us off.
I'm going to the third season of the original series because when I was a kid, when I would watch this episode, Kirk was very out of character, and I didn't know what was going on. And there's all kinds of things that are happening in this episode, especially when you're a child and you haven't figured out these storylines yet. I'm, of course, speaking about the Enterprise incident.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 where it appears that Kirk is off. He's off the reservation. They've taken off.
We don't say that anymore, Rob. Did you not get the memo? We don't say off the reservation. That's one of those phrases you don't use anymore.
So you're off the reservation.
No, that there's all different kinds of reservations. There's not just, you can have, it's not just one kind of reservation,
Yeah, it could be like restaurant reservations.
Or there's,
canceling language.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Oh, I don't care what you say. I'm just telling you that people say that's what people say. I'm just making you aware of it.
Well,
I have no problem with words.
On them.
But in the 23rd century, we've learned not to fear words.
I've been saying it for 2 hours now.
And I think that it's why, like that episode, Kirk is obviously he's doing a lot of dumb things, and he's reckless.
Or are they?
That's the thing, you don't know. And when I was a kid, and what's going on. And then not only does Kirk, is he unhinged, he's laying the groundwork for this deception, but you don't know it at the time. And then of course, Kirk, attacks Spock and Spock kills him.
Yeah.
Spock kills him using the Vulcan death grip. Now, Spock is not supposed to lie. I guess he's exaggerating, but I mean, you can't believe this. And then, of course, it's revealed that it's a deception, that the Enterprise is on a secret mission. Kirk and Spock, they're infiltrating behind enemy lines. They need to get captured to steal the Romulan cloaking device. And for me, again, it's one of my favorite episodes. I mean, it doesn't have much of a philosophical bent to it. I just loved it because of how cool it was. And then, Kirk gets surgically altered to become an alien. That doesn't mean he suddenly is thinking like a Romulan. He's just surgically been made a Romulan just because he's been.
They just point his ears. It's not that hard.
They point his ears and change his eyebrows. And so there's deception after deception after deception.
I'm disappointed Exo-6 is making that because I think that Hasbro one that we have is really good. The one that
the Playmates one, the
Star Trek, that's the Star Trek.
It is really good.
Exo-6 is going to be so much better.
Yeah, it will be. But I love that episode. And it's a spy episode. It's spycraft, but it was always so well done. And when I was a kid, I remember being like, oh my, why is Kirk doing such stupid stuff?
And it's good to see that Nomad and Sargon are getting extra work.
Yeah.
That Picard Exo-6
where Nomad has gone before.
Rob, did you get the Picard Exo-6?
I haven't got mine yet, but I'm getting it.
Oh, okay. I gave it to Isaac for Hanukkah. He loved it. It's great.
It's
You know
great.
why? Because it came with that banner. Happy Picard Day.
Yeah.
I got it just for that.
You wind it up, it does nothing for 7 years.
With the Darmok check. It surrenders.
It surrenders the ship.
No. It's a gorgeous figure.
Yep.
But anyway, okay. So that was the Enterprise incident from Mark Burnett. Ashley, what about you? What's your honorary mention for our top 10 Trek twists?
Okay, so a Star Trek twist that just left my jaw on the effing floor. Came in the 14th episode of the 5th season of Deep Space Nine, part of the In Purgatory Shadow by Inferno's Light two-parter, when we discover that basically since the 3rd season in Improbable Cause, the Die Is Cast two-parter, Dr. Julian Bashir has been a freaking changeling. When we find him in a Dominion prison camp along with General Martok, who is still alive. And I mean, it's a terrific set of episodes all on their own. But that reveal is just so great. And you want to go back and watch episodes and they came up with it when they were breaking the episode. But the brilliant thing about it is that there is nothing in the past that denies it. It all just works. It's so smart. It's so cool. You so believe it. And I was delighted by that reveal. I had to stop and go back. Am I actually seeing what I think I'm seeing?
No, it was an amazing, and it was Gowron too. I mean, it was incredible that they played that off. That I would have thought Rick Berman would have let them do that, but they did.
That's the number one Star Trek twist. I mean, that's it. When you find out that Bashir is a changeling, that's great. It's not an episode. It's part of an episode.
Yeah.
And the episode is not a twisty episode,
right?
But it's a twist it is an incredible twist in a great episode. And there's probably no greater twist than that in Star Trek history. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That brings us to Darren Doctorman for his honorary mention. The Doctor is in. What do you say, Darren?
Doctor is insane. No.
Insane in the membrane.
I'm going to, yes, the original series again, and the first episode of season 2. The most twisted capability of any race are the female of the species, and never more so than in this tale designed to drive Spock into amok time. And he is really put through the ringer in this, all because of the love of a 7-year-old girl. What? No, that isn't the actual story, but due to certain scenes that have happened since, it looks like Spock is a little bit of a pervert looking at this old photo of T'Pring, his more than a betrothal, yet less than a marriage. This is a big old twist in many senses of the word, mostly because it twists Spock into a frenzy of emotional outbursts and activities. And
The Vulcan death grip.
The birds
That's not
the bees.
The birds and the bees are not Vulcans. If they had learned to hide their emotion so completely, it's a great story, and it really treats us to an in-depth look at how things work on Vulcan and why sometimes they don't. But the great twist is Kirk is chosen as the champion of T'Pring, and he must fight Spock to the death, and Spock wins to the death. And T'Pring doesn't care because she has the most logical plan ever, and no matter what happens, she wins. And it's a great story. Look, everyone is great in it. Celia Lofsky as T'Pau, all of Vulcan in one package, so to speak.
Nice package.
Is great, even if she can't do the Vulcan hand signal without having her fingers tied together. It's really fun, and we get to see a bit of Vulcan, and it's great.
It also led to the very first pocket hardcover Star Trek novel written by Diane Duane, Spock's World, where T'Pring takes her revenge on Spock and the rest of Vulcan.
It wouldn't be an episode of Inglorious Treksperts without the survivors and Rob mentioning a Star Trek novel. So there you have it on your bingo card. Please note on your bingo cards.
But it also leads to some interesting tales in the slash fiction world where Kirk helps Spock through Ponfar in interesting ways.
I'm sorry.
Say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mind pegging.
Mind pegging.
Well,
the cloud
wasn't it. I really didn't know that, and I did not need to know that. But
yes,
okay,
you do. You're a
Trekspert,
Trekspert, damn it.
Okay, well, there you go. Amok Time, some great Trek twists there. Watching Spock throw a hissy fit, and obviously the twist that Kirk will be her champion, T'Pring's champion. Great stuff there. Great episode. So that's a terrific pick from Darren Dochterman. And then that brings us to my pick for honorary mention. Ashley, it'd be really easy to go with something like Apocalypse Rising because, of course, that has a similar twist in the fact that we realize that
Gowron, leader of the High Council,
is not the changeling.
But is not the changeling.
It is Martok, which is a great twist. It also, the finale of the previous season has that great teaser out where Odo has realized he thinks that Gowron is the Chancellor of the Klingon Empire is a changeling. It's a great twist that actually turns out not to be. But
this is not your episode.
But no, my pick, and I know that there's a lot of my pick is neither from the original series or Deep Space Nine. I actually pick a show for Next Generation, which is more twists than I think any of the other Star Trek episodes. Episodes like Clues and Remember Me, all these great twists, right? But to me, there's probably no greater Trek twist in TNG than when Crime Dog McDuff becomes the first officer of the Enterprise. And of course, right. I'm talking about the episode Conundrum, where the crew loses their memory and suddenly there's a new first officer.
This guy shows up.
Kieran McDuff, and he is intent on taking the Enterprise on a deadly mission which will eradicate a civilization, and we know something is amok. And but we're not going to figure it out under Captain Worf, who believes because he wears the braids in the family that he's the captain, and Picard is a shrinking violet underneath Captain Worf's authority. It's a terrific episode. It is really enjoyable. It has a nice twist at the end, but watching these characters struggle with their identity and their rank in particular is just a delight, and it is one of my favorite Trek twists in all of Trekdom.
Twek twists?
Twek twists?
In my mind, it's only marred by the casting of McDuff.
But that casting is great.
It's not, though.
He's so milquetoast.
Oh my God. I just hate him.
Yeah, I think it should have been the Crime Dog. They should have done it like Roger Rabbit. He could have been McDuff, the Crime Dog.
No, McGruff is the Crime Dog. McGruff.
Oh, so who's McDuff?
McDuff was one of the early engineers on, or no, that's McDougal.
Yeah, McDougal.
So who's McDuff?
No one of importance.
McGruff is the crime dog, my man.
No one.
Yeah.
McDuff is the dude from Macbeth.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Lay on Macduff and Danby.
McDuff, that's right. McDuff is from Macbeth, not the crime dog.
Yeah, Macduff. However, Macduff is related to crime, so it's a fair thing.
It is a fun episode, except for that guy.
Because Darren doesn't like that guy.
I don't like that guy.
F that guy.
He has it out for. Well, we've talked about how the guest casting in Next Generation often left something to be desired. With all due respect to Ron Surma and Judy Lowry, who did a phenomenal job on Deep Space Nine, however.
They did.
Yeah, so. Okay. Well, that brings us to our number one pick. Have you picked? Do you guys at home know? Do you suspect? Well, it seems like we've had
Lock
a lot
in your answers.
I think you'll know what it'll be when you hear who is presenting it.
Well, I don't think they know.
I don't think.
Maybe I won't tell you who's going to present it.
Okay.
Maybe it's
one of
just
us will
going to
begin
be
speaking.
Maybe it's going to be a twist.
It could be.
Yeah, but
or a chubby checker. I don't
you
know.
know what though.
So
or a twist that gives me a chubby.
Hey.
Oh,
hey now, Vina.
Oh, by the way, I want to say Karen Walker was very clear that she did not say you guys are sophomoric. She said you guys just can't help yourselves. So she said I did not say
that. That is not a difference.
She said, I did not say you were being sophomoric in that episode.
You didn't say that the Enterprise.
So I want to clarify because Karen's been a long-time listener.
Incredibly sophomoric.
And a big supporter, and she has her own podcast.
I'm at least a junior.
I want to do right by Karen. I don't want her to feel in any way we're misrepresenting her sentiment about the podcast.
I
love Karen, but I think that guilty is charged.
Yeah.
Guilty.
I got my Jor-El right there.
He's right there. Yeah.
Really? That's so cool. Where'd you get it?
I'll destroy you, Jor-El. That
was a real life
hot toy.
thing.
This is a real hot toy. It was not released in the United States.
Yeah, I got one of them too. They're great.
It's from Superman Returns.
Oh gosh, darn it! Because if Hanukkah had not just ended, I would try and track that down for Isaac.
They're really expensive.
Oh yeah, dude,
they're really expensive now.
You know what the really weird twist of this episode would be? If we just sort of trailed off.
Just didn't give it. Just didn't give the episode.
That would be a twist. That would be the twist. We're not going to reveal
There's no twist.
There's no twist.
No, I think we got to reveal it. And to do that, I'm just going to pick a random so you can't guess. Ashley.
Okay. All right. So, our number one Trek twist episode is the 13th episode of season 6 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I know what you're thinking. Oh, Ashley is talking about DS9 again. How about you just go? But this episode is one that we have often heaped accolades upon in other contexts. It's certainly made our best episode list. We've talked about it quite a lot. It's I think actually quite an important episode of Star Trek.
It's like Inner Light, but good.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Far beyond the stars.
A dream of the past.
I am a writer.
Deep Space Nine is a very intriguing title.
Becomes a vision for the future.
Your hero's a Negro captain. It's not believable.
Trapped in time.
I think I'm losing my mind.
Living another life.
Maybe this is all happening for a reason.
Sisko faces his greatest enemy.
Things are going to change. They have to.
Racism. On the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Which has got the plot is dirt simple. Captain Sisko is haunted by visions, believing that he is a black science fiction writer in the 1950s named Benny Russell, and Benny is writing stories about a space station called Deep Space Nine that happens to have a black captain named Benjamin Sisko.
Just happens to.
But in the 1950s, nobody wants to hear that story. His editor doesn't. The other writers don't. They think that it's wrong that there would be a black captain. They do anything and everything to push Benny down. But Benny refuses to give in. He writes his stories. He expands on them. He tells more stories. The end of this episode is just so incredibly powerful because it really is a collision of realities between Benny Russell's reality and
because it's real.
Because it's real, and I know it, and it's real. And Avery Brooks is amazing in this episode. And the best thing about it is that it's not some random ass time travel thing. It's not an alternate reality. It's not a dream that doesn't matter. It's a vision from the prophets, that the prophets are helping Cisco to understand humanity. He is engaged in exploration, really, of history, of himself, of attitudes, of the kinds of things that have brought him to Deep Space Nine. It's just there's so many things in this episode that are just very meta. So the other writers, his editor, the people that Benny Russell is surrounded by,
you were there,
are all played by.
You were there.
Exactly. It's like the Wizard of Oz. It's like, and you were there, and you too, Scarecrow. They're all in the episode, and they're all in. They all play different roles that mean different things to Benny Russell. If you look in his room, in his asylum, he's written stories all over the wall. I've worked with a few of the DS9 writers, and they'll tell you that they basically did that to make it look like the writer's room in the Deep Space Nine writer's room. Like that, all of that is just inspired by the reality of writing the show. So there are just so many layers to this thing, and it's just so beautifully done. It's just incredibly well directed by Avery Brooks, incredibly well acted by Avery Brooks. It has just an emotional gut punch that you would not believe, while also being an incredibly intelligent hour of television. One of my very favorite episodes, and truly, I think the greatest Star Trek twist of all time. That it was real, and he knows it.
Yeah,
it's an incredible episode.
And the only sad part is that they didn't get James Darren to sing the theme song. Somewhere far beyond the stars.
Yeah,
but they could have gotten Kip Lennon.
Thank God they didn't.
Remember Buck Rogers?
Yes, Buck Rogers. Yes. How could we forget?
Yeah.
Don't you think I know that?
No, I'm not saying it for you guys. I know that because you're the Bucksperts. I'm talking about the audience. Don't
you paint that brush for me. I'm not a Buckspert.
You're not a Buckspert?
And I never will be.
You Buck.
Bucksperts, Buck Rogers just went into public domain.
Did he?
Well, the original stories, yes.
The original stories, yeah.
Just like Popeye, only the original comic strip.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, Gil Gerard going into the public domain.
That will never go into public.
I'm just talking about the original Buck Rogers stories.
But I'm talking about Buck.
That's right, Beady. But no Twinkie. Twinkie is not in the public domain. No Twinkies.
Buck Rogers.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
Armageddon,
you're in the public domain.
2419.
You're in the public domain.
Damn right I am.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Double domain on you.
Okay. Well, listen, this was a delight as always. This was our episode 7 of a 10-part countdown of holiday classics. A Mind is a Terrible Thing to Waste. Top 10 Trek twists ever. And you got to hear all 10 of them. And we're in a whole new year.
Easy for you to say. Your specials are winding down. I just want a little adventure.
Mr. Adventure.
Mr. Adventure.
But we still have a few more to go. Rob, are you game? Are you ready for a few more of these?
Of course. Where you go, I follow.
Okay, well, there you go. We got next week.
I'll chase you round the moon. Never mind.
So we're not done. And then we'll also have a lot of exciting announcements about Treksperts goodness coming up in 2025. And of course, between episodes, you can enjoy Rob every day on the Per Network. Check him out on YouTube and download his new audio drama, True Noir, available now wherever you get your audiobooks.
With many Trek luminaries like Bill Sadler, who played Sloane, and Jeffrey Combs playing Mayor Anton Cermak.
With many Fremen warriors.
I was sorry to hear Bill's wife passed away. That's really
pretty good.
No,
it was very sad.
Yeah.
And then Bill Smitrovich is in it too. And so is Barry Bostwick,
who you might remember from Past Tense, Part 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrific. And of course, Inglorious Treksperts is available every Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, you can open hailing frequencies by emailing us at trekspertsplus@gmail.com or find us on all the major social channels, including Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Twitter, and now at Blue Sky. Blue Sky is becoming very popular as our Twitter engagement continues.
Or just call out hail, hail, fire, and snow.
Well, that'll do it too. You can also subscribe to Inglorious Treksperts and Tech 78 on Spotify at trekspertsplus.com or follow us now on YouTube. And we'll be back next Thursday with an all-new episode. But until then, on behalf of Robert Meyer Burnett, Ashley Edward Miller, Darren Ross Doctorman, and Mark A. Altman, keep on trekking, ingloriously, of course. I didn't hear anything. It was totally silent. It's like in what was that episode? Oh, it was like Wink of an Eye. It was so slow. I couldn't even hear it. I'm moving like this.
Okay, let's try to get
Steve Austin.
Peter. Tagger.
Engage the Omega 13. Good night.